going broke doing this. We already have millions of followers. It would be a shame to let this go bye-bye.
Well, there's one man right here in North Dakota who's made it his priority to make every single day a celebration.
But that's what's hatched an idea that has since reached people worldwide.
One thing that's really interesting about National Day Calendar is the amount of suicide calls we get.
Wow.
And it's somebody who's thinking about committing suicide. And for whatever reason, they call us. I'm hoping that we made an impact. I remember waking up one morning early on, turning on the local news, and then they're talking about a national day. It was this surreal thing.
At what point in time do you realize that this just wasn't a website, but something that people really rely on?
It's not just a website anymore. It's a lifestyle, a way of living, a way of looking at being on the positive side instead of the negative side on things. This gal was looking at me from across the way, and finally she came up and she's like, "You're the calendar guy, right? You guys are literally everywhere. You just don't even think about it, but it is everywhere."
In the question list I'd sent over and what our conversation was, it was, some about National Calendar Day, some about AI. I think, trying to maybe just focus on like National Calendar Day for the focus of it, and then we'll see where time's at.
Okay.
I think there'll be other things that obviously bleed into it from like, your past and things you've learned, and like all the other things will get brought up into it as well too. But before we get into national days, want to start with you. You're seeing you out speaking, events, you're traveling a bunch, you're out in the western part of the state. Obviously we're in Fargo today. So, if you were to meet somebody, driving up to Grand Forks later today and they asked, Marlo, what do you do? Or who are you? What would you kind of describe yourself as?
I'm just a very optimistic person.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I kind of drive that optimism, and I'm not afraid to try things. Curiosity is still probably what drives me more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And because of that curiosity, I'll try things just to see if it'll work, if it won't work, and so I'm not afraid to fail.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life that failure was more costly than it is now. And I don't mean more monetarily. It just maybe was more costly because I couldn't afford to do it personally.
Sure.
Nowadays, because I just have a few more resources, I guess, I'm able to fail in a grandiose type of way and not really worry about it as much as I used to. But other than that, that's really who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say curiosity and failure having a bigger net negative, do you mean like, is it like school or is it activities? Or tell me more about, what it meant to be a little more like aware of failures and not being able to try as many things.
Well,
maybe.
I would say probably more along the lines of, back when I had a family at home, my kids are younger, that cost of failure probably meant that maybe we were not eating steak that night. We were eating mac and cheese,
sure.
Type of thing, and now that I don't have kids at home and it just impacts me personally. It's probably not as big a deal. That's all it was, it just felt more risky than it does now.
Yeah. I'm a guy that's single without kids, and I want to be married and have kids more than anything.
Sure.
But maybe tell me about how you had maybe differentiated, prioritized being curious and trying new things while also trying to prioritize being a dad and being a husband and being a person at home that's taking care of a family.
Yeah, it certainly weighs into those decisions. And I think, one of the things now is that I will probably let things go on longer if I think it's a good idea, even though it feels like I might be failing or just not getting to the goal as quick as I should. I have some projects right now that have been going on a couple, 3 years. I don't know if I'd have let them go on that long if I had a family I had to feed back then, simply because I didn't have that resource of time like maybe I do now. Because I had to get onto some other venture or whatever that was actually making money, so I could actually put mac and cheese back on the table again, So,
yeah. What kind of projects are going on for 3 years that you have?
Yeah, so I kind of invented artificial photosynthesis.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people look at me sometimes and think, aren't you the calendar guy?
Yeah.
You know, which seems like a very simplistic type of venture, and in many ways it is. But I am very curious about science, and I like to dabble in technology a little bit. So it kind of started. I was looking at I was on a trip and looking at how evergreens were grown out of the side of a mountain. You know, it's all rock, right? And you're like, how is this even possible? There's no way they're getting all the nutrients they need from that rock. You know, so you know, as kids, we learned about photosynthesis, and I just like so I had this idea. And then had the opportunity to sit down with some scientists from NASA, and over dinner. I won't get to how I got there. That's another long story. But having dinner with some scientists with NASA, and they, I just brought this idea up about photosynthesis and what would it look like if we could figure out in a way to artificial photosynthesis? What can we do with CO2 and sunlight, right? And that kind of spurred some conversation, spurred some experimentation in a lab at NASA. And the next thing I know, they're reaching out to me and saying, hey, this idea you have actually works.
Yeah.
And we were able to break apart CO2 using sunlight. Here's that idea if you would like to do something with it. So I've been working on that for about 3 years now. And currently sits at UND. And we're working towards commercialization of that project, which means that at some point, hopefully in the future, we will have these modules that will sit next to like coal-powered plants producing electricity, and we're able to take that CO2 out of the stack and convert it into something that's usable, as opposed to just sequestering it into the ground. And that, using sunlight, so we're not using additional power from anything else other than the sun that we're already getting. So that's pretty exciting.
Wow. Well, I mean, Marlo, it definitely seems, obviously you had already mentioned, curious, not afraid to fail, maybe tinkerer is maybe another adjective. Have you always been current Marlo, or maybe when did this, curiosity and drive to finding out how the future works today kind of come from?
I think I've always been this way. I mean, I look back at even in my youth, I must have been curious. I remember my mother buying, or actually she earned a set of World Book Encyclopedia back in the day. You might even be too young to know what that is. But before we had the internet and all these things, I mean, a lot of people bought encyclopedias so we could look things up. I consumed those. I don't have a formal education, but I probably memorized childcraft, and I had no problem just reading. I mean, I would not watch a lot of television or whatever growing up. I consumed encyclopedias. So I have kind of this working knowledge of a lot of different things, maybe not deep knowledge, but enough knowledge to get me through a lot of conversations, simply because I have this curiosity about a lot of different things, and just learned a lot of things about a lot of things over the years. And now I guess I have this ability to put these things together. I guess that's probably one of the things, like, looking at a tree, thinking about how does this thing grow underground, and the next thing you know, we're putting things together, and here we have artificial photosynthesis now. And that's not unlike many of the projects I've worked with.
Yeah. And when you had said formal education, so I'm a person that graduated high school, went to some years of college, never finished. Maybe talk to me about what your formal education has looked like or hasn't looked like to getting you to here.
Well,
today.
mine is the school of hard knocks. There's no doubt about it. I graduated from high school, and that really was it. I did have some possibilities. I'd actually earned a scholarship to Brown, which is a broadcasting school in Minneapolis back when I graduated. Didn't go down that path, but it is interesting now that 30 years after I graduated from high school, I have, I guess, an okay broadcasting career going on as well as just kind of the sideline thing. Right. So somehow or another, I made my way back to that too, which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
I mean, something that's a personal, I think for myself, so I'm 32, right? Born in 93, graduated high school in 2012. I mean, I think maybe I was in that first generation of like college wasn't as much of a need kind of coming
Sure.
up. Internet was not, I mean, in 2012, it was not what it was in
Yep.
2020 or even 2017.
Yep.
But for myself, like YouTube and the cameras on this table were like the dream to buy these one day. But, you know, back in 2017, at least from what I saw when I was kind of trying to make that decision, do I finish college? Do I try to take a different route to get me to an end path that I don't know where I want to go to yet? But it was where we saw, you know, brands were starting to create like series on YouTube, and, you know, movies weren't becoming as prevalent as like, you know, like The Office and Parks and Rec, and those different shows were becoming more relevant again, even though they had aired 10 years before that. So we just kind of, I had seen like the shift in content change at that time, and had seen an opportunity again with like the decreasing cost of producing good looking video was now $5,000 versus $50,000
Sure.
to get into it, right? So then the barrier to entry became so much more less of a hurdle. So I mean, when you look at yourself, you know, being, you know, in a generation or two before that, I mean, how difficult was that for you to go through the school of hard knocks when the internet wasn't as easily readily available like AI is today, and all the things that, you know, I might have had?
Yep. I 100% agree with you about the cost, or the, you know, the barrier has been lowered so much because costs have come down so much with many things. You know, this studio we're sitting in right here is probably a great example of that, right?
Yeah.
But even with small business, not to get down another rabbit hole too quick, but you know, this ability, but this goes back to the school of hard knocks, right? You know, I've built a few apps over the years. It wasn't unusual to spend $500,000 on an app, right? And by today's standards, and in fact, over the last couple of years, I have a couple apps in development right now that we haven't launched yet,
Yeah.
because I've been working with teams that refuse to use artificial intelligence to help move them forward quicker. And then you get to the point where you get frustrated because you're like, you guys, we could have had this done already.
Right.
I have 100 other projects behind this that we could work on, but they're so afraid of what's coming at them that they think they're going to be out of work. So then they kind of just linger on longer on these projects and kind of milk it a little bit. So, you know, nowadays you could probably put out an app that would cost $500,000 2 to 3 years ago for $10,000 now. So it's the difference between mortgaging your house and a credit card transaction.
Right.
You know, so that barrier to these type of projects, and that what I lived through already, you know, it's just, to me, is just unbelievably amazing that you have this opportunity. You know, I'm not saying I'm at the total end of my career yet.
No, not
I'm
at
just
all.
totally but I am remotivated. I'm telling you right now, artificial intelligence has me doing more than I've ever done in my past. And I have all these different projects going on because of this. So I've been reinvigorated, I guess you could say, or whatever, to do things again, because that barrier has been lowered so much.
Yeah.
And I think we're at the cusp of the rise of small business, simply because of this. So I think a lot of people are going to get transitioned out of maybe some of the jobs that they have and things because of artificial intelligence, but they can take that knowledge that they've learned and then move on to, you know, create an app or create a consulting career or whatever it would be that you could, you know, basically make a living at. Because you don't need to have, you know, 10, 15, 20 people maybe anymore. Maybe it's just you and an assistant, and you both carve out a great living because of that, because you have technology.
Right.
You know, National Day is a great example of this too. National Day calendar would not exist if we had to have 100 people running it, because it's not that type of company, right?
Yeah.
But because of technology, we can get by with 15 people, and it exists. So 15 people are employed instead of none in this, you know, in this type of venture.
Totally.
So I just see this rise right now.
Yeah.
And I know it's way off track from what you
No,
asked,
you're
but
good.
Yeah.
So when you see this rise, right, of AI, and you go back to yourself, I don't know how long ago it was, but when you were talking about looking at a tree and how does it do tree things and
Yes.
rocks. Were you like going back in time again? Like what were you maybe known for as like a kid or young adult? I mean, was that kind of the same ponderer that you are now, or maybe what do you describe yourself as back in the time?
I have such a hard time talking about myself. I'm sorry. I had a nickname, and my nickname was Can Do.
Can do.
And I have not talked about this, I don't think ever, actually, when I'm thinking about this. But I got the nickname because I was just a scrawny little rat, and I was not afraid to tackle anybody in football, right? I mean, I'm sixth grader or whatever. And so I had this nickname called Can Do. And I just wonder now, when I'm thinking about that probably is who I still am today. Kind of interesting. Not the town, by the way, of Can Do, North Dakota.
Sure.
Just Can Do. I can do things, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What else do you think that spilled out of besides sixth grade football? I mean, what else did that look like for you back then?
It probably just goes back to that no fear of whatever. I mean, I'm not afraid to try things or whatever. So I kind of have this can-do spirit.
Yeah.
I'm coining things right now here.
Yeah.
So that's probably really the only. I had a couple of. Well, I guess I had two food jobs when I was in high school.
Okay.
Worked for a fast food place and a country kitchen when I was in high school, and shortly thereafter. That's actually the only job that I ever had working for somebody else.
Wow.
So I've been on my own for 40 years. I don't know if right away, and I actually, speaking of World Book, I did actually sell World Book for 4 or 5 years. And but that was like a 1099 type of scenario. You set your own destiny. I mean, you went out and just worked when you wanted to. So you were basically self-employed doing that.
Yeah.
But I really believed in what encyclopedias did for me. So I thought other people should have that opportunity too. I actually left that company because of the internet and CD-ROM. If I don't know if
which year are we talking here?
This would have been 89.
Okay.
So. And I was the youngest division manager in the company. And everybody else was 50, 60 years old, like what I am now. And I'm this 20-year-old, young behind the ear, or wet behind the ear type of person. And I already love computers, and I was like, let's get these things on a computer disk. Let's get it on CD-ROM. That was the term, CD-ROM at the time, right? And they were like, no. We were around when radio came out, and everybody said that'd be the death of us. And we were around when talkies came out, meaning movies that talked, and that would be the end of us. And when television came out, this is just a fad.
Right.
And I'm like, no, not a fad. I think I'll just move on to something else. So, and it's interesting how that company diminished because they didn't adjust to what was coming at them. So
yeah. No, absolutely. So when you think about all of this, earned fortitude, earned curiosity, was this something that like a parent, a friend, a teacher, I mean, where did you kind of learn this, or was this just a God-given or whatever you want to call it? I mean, it's obviously against the grain of what the natural person has, I think in general with their curiosity and the lack of fear to fail.
I don't think so. I think that everybody has this in them. I just think that that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I look at, not to say anything bad about my mother, and she'll probably hear this or watch it or whatever, but she certainly isn't. She's almost the polar opposite of me.
Okay.
So not a risk taker. Not in fact, she. For I think 30 years after I became adult, she seriously questioned, like, why do you do these things, type of thing, right? We'd have these conversations,
right?
And so I'm not really sure where it really comes from. I could say that I did have a significant head injury when I was in high school.
Okay.
So who knows?
Maybe it came from that.
I mean, I laugh about that, but. I do have, I have a lazy eye and some nerve damage in my optic, my optic nerve and things like that. But I don't know. I guess I don't know. I've always just been fascinated by business, and
Yeah.
I like to learn things. And I'm with you with the internet and YouTube and all of that. I think people can be very successful now being self-taught.
Yeah.
So
So when you think about it, it's probably another derivative of maybe the same question I already asked you. But when you think about AI and Chat GPT or Copilot with Microsoft or Google or whatever, what do you think is really the difference maker of the people that become, let's call it financially super successful? Because I mean, all the information now is out there,
Yep.
right? Like, college education, how to make a meal, how to build a car. I mean, really anything is out there. So I mean, what do you think is really the difference maker of the information's obviously out there, so then who then takes that and applies that? What do you think are those metrics or those attributes that make somebody into successful, right?
Well, I think it's like anything else. I mean, we all know how to drive a car, right? But I don't see you, being Richard Petty, for example, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who excel at things that we do every day. There are people who excel at cooking. I mean, there are chefs in the world that excel at this. I can barely make mac and cheese, but I know enough to get around the kitchen if I need to, right?
Right.
I think the same is true with artificial intelligence.
Sure.
I think it's something that we're all going to use. We're already all using it. Actually, you just may not know it. But in your everyday life, there's some nuance around you where AI is already embedded. It's just a matter of how skilled you become with it, right? You just brought up, just this ability to cook and use AI for that. I'm betting that 85 to 90% of the people that are watching or listening to us right now are like, oh, I never thought about that.
Sure. Sure.
You can just take a picture of what's in your refrigerator with ChatGPT, and it'll give you recipes with what you have right there, right now, like how to make an omelet or whatever.
Right.
Right. To you and I, because we've done this before, it
Sure.
just seems basic.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's not true. Looking at some medical stuff the other day for somebody, and they were very, very concerned about this medical report that they had just received. And I'm like, well, let's just, but we're not doctors.
Yeah.
Right. I don't understand most of what they're even talking about here. I dropped it into AI.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as big a deal as what we were being led on to believe. Right.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting way to use artificial intelligence that actually really helped the situation and calmed everybody down.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, like in my world, it's almost like I just go to AI first. Now, I'm not saying that it's always
sure.
right. Because
It has pros and cons.
Yes, it does. It does. But if you have an AI first approach, and just knowing that you might not get exactly the right information you need, but at least it gets you started. I think your world gets a lot better, a lot faster, and it's across the board.
Right.
Who is going to hire? I mean, if I'm interviewing you for a job,
right,
and I know you're versed in how to use AI and how to prompt, and this exact other person has almost the exact same skill set, but is not versed in that, I will hire you over that other person every time.
Yeah.
So it's about amplifying who you are more than anything else. So why not be a better you? And I think artificial intelligence helps you with that.
Yeah. I mean, I know for myself, and it sounds like, Marlo, you and I are similar in some of those ways, more so specifically. And it just sounds like if you're a self-starter, this is going to be just jet fuel for you.
Yep. I 100% agree with that. Yeah. And it's already proven that to me. I mean, the artificial photosynthesis project, for example, we're probably 4 to 5 years ahead of where we should be. Just if we had the same technology, or if we didn't have the technology that we have now with artificial intelligence, if we had just started it 3 years before ChatGPT came out, so let's say in 2019, right? My guess is we'd be at the exact same spot right now.
Yeah.
But we've done everything, in 3 years instead of 6.
Right.
So and the other thing with it that this barrier that you just brought up again, I mean, this ability to model. I mean, things that to model out what I'm talking about right now would have taken, $1 million probably to get to a place that we probably didn't with $12,000, because
Substantially less.
It's just crazy when you start thinking about, everybody has ideas. Everybody has ideas for apps, all this other stuff, and in the past, in order to make a living off of something, if it costs you $1 million to generate an app, for example, how many users do you have to have before you even get that money back, right? Now it doesn't even have to be that way. You could actually create like a micro app or a very, very niche type of thing that you may only need 300 subscribers to, that are paying you $20 a month,
and you're good. That's like your blue skies and white picket fence, and
it's your passion, right? It's something that you love to do.
Right.
Maybe your passion in life is monarch butterflies, and there's only 3,000 other people in the world that have the same passion as you. But if they're willing to give you $10 a month, you're golden.
That's all you need.
That's all you need now, right? So
I mean, the one thing that I think about, especially in our space, right, with it being a video marketing agency, we just had it on our entryway TV, but think about the guy or gal that made the viral fireplace YouTube video.
Yes.
How many thousands of dollars, there was actually a study on it, how many thousands of dollars that person makes a month now in recurring, especially during COVID. Imagine how many people in a big city had that on their TV.
And Christmas time.
Literally
one of the screens in our office is that video.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many hundreds and hundreds of millions of views that thing does. And, I think about it now. And we're going to transition a little bit back into the origin story, into National Calendar Day. But I think about our agency, and again, going back to numbers of people, like you said, 100 versus the 15 you have working right now. Do we really need to scale our team size and work with more people? Or is it now kind of patenting some idea? You can't patent a YouTube video, but imagine all the videos that were the original fireplace video, or the original whatever video that was huge, or some idea or digital product that you can create again, right? That like an app that impacts way more people without having to go out and physically talk to them, or be a part of something that can generate more users, or whatever it is, around views and et cetera. So
it's just a different world we live in. You have this ability to basically touch the entire planet now, where before, sitting here in Fargo, North Dakota, in order to do that even 10 years ago, was a big ask. So if you create something that's unique enough, people will watch it, talk about it, use it, whatever it is.
Yeah. One thing that that I've focused on as a philosophy, whether we love or hate Jeff Bezos, not an opinion that I have, but one of his comments or statements was, in order to effectively, make the most amount of impact, you have to impact the most amount of people. Obviously, if you look at Amazon, how many people have packages probably getting to their houses today,
Yes.
which then obviously equates to a net worth and gross revenue generated a year. So again, like you just said, we can impact, everybody, or larger volumes of people that we had than we had previous access to before the internet, or apps, or AI, or whatever it is. But let's pivot into how National Calendar Day started, right? So talk to me again, kind of going back in time again, around what was like the first moment that you can remember that is National Calendar Day for you.
So it was, I was looking up. At the time I'm backpedaling a little bit here, I guess, but at the time there was probably 20 to 30 national days that were being celebrated. This is back in 2011, 2012. And I was looking up where National Popcorn Day came to be, and I couldn't find any information about it at all. So I started digging into it a little bit, and I'm just like, it's just surprising to me that there is no website that is dedicated even to the national days, and even some of the federal holidays that we have now and where they came from. It just took a lot of energy to find out information about it. So I just started, working on National Day calendar, and I just decided to, and I grabbed the domain name and launched on January 19th, 2013. and that was National Popcorn Day. So Popcorn Day is a big deal. I always tell people my body's built on bagels, but it's probably bagels and popcorn. And I love popcorn. And and then I started to dig into it a little further, and realized that there were other national days that had been forgotten. A president in 1796 declared something, Congress in 1838. And I started, like I said, I started researching, and at the same time, and then I put a post out at 8 o'clock every night for what was coming up tomorrow, and the media almost immediately started to follow what I was doing, and not everybody right away, but I started to get a little bit of a following, and if I didn't have that post out by 8:30 or 9, I'd start getting emails like, "Where's the post? We need it for tomorrow's show," and things like this, So they were already using what I was writing for prep for tomorrow's news segments and things, So it really put a lot of pressure on me, but of course, it taught me to be consistent. Consistency in business is a big deal. Especially when it comes to building a following and things. And it took 2.5 years, nights and weekends. I'm still doing my normal other business stuff that I was doing during the day, except for the fact that now we're getting hundreds of phone calls and thousands of emails every day. So the rest of my team with my other company was getting deluged by all of this as well. So this hobby was costing us a lot of money. Hosting a website that was getting millions of views a month was also very expensive back in 2014 and 2015. We were on, I had built a lot of websites before that, self-hosted WordPress sites. National Day Calendar was the only WordPress.com site I ever built. And I'm not going to get into the difference between the two because it's complicated, but I was kicked off of WordPress.com because they didn't even have a big enough package to support us. They were afraid that we would there's security issues and all this stuff when you get to certain sizes and things. So anyway, I had to leave there, had to hire Automatic, and I think it was WordPress Engine at the time because I moved to them. Teams on both sides to move the site over because I picked a theme that was exclusive for WordPress.com, which was a terrible mistake. And then move that over. And we still have errant code in our site today because of this. We are, by the way, as we speak, we have a brand new website that's coming out very, very shortly.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's very exciting. So anyway, we built it from the ground up. So we're finally getting to the point where we're doing it right. So 2.5 years later, I uncovered 1,200 national days.
Wow.
After all this. So again, there were only 20 or 30 when I started. There were 1,200 when I was done. And all of them, because of media, are being celebrated, And I think in 2015, one of the biggest things we did is we put a hashtag to it. And it seems crazy, and it seems so like that's not even world-changing type of thing. But just putting the hashtag, hashtag nationalcookieday.com, right? Just took us to the stratosphere. It was just unbelievable. And just almost immediately on Twitter back then, they would show like the trending topics off to the right-hand side. And on that day, number one would be National Cookie Day. The next day would be National Bobblehead Day. So almost immediately we were the number one trending topic, on there. And it was just amazing to watch all of that. And when we still are, we're actually the number one trending topic of all time. So we have a reach of over 1 billion people a day now. So it's all out of Mandan, North Dakota. So crazy.
Not many people would assume. When you think about back to like the National Popcorn Day and maybe those first couple of years, did it feel like, this is like a fun hobby, or maybe it's becoming strenuous, or how do we make this into something different than just a hobby or something, passion project? I guess tell me about that experience in those years.
Yeah, probably all of that. I mean, I had all of those pain points that you just brought up. A lot of pressure from friends and family. Like, you're already busy doing these other things. This is insane. Why are you doing this? Literally, friends would call me, hey, let's go out for a beer tonight. No, I can't. I got to get my National Day stuff done. What are you talking about? Why do you have to do this? Who assigned you this project? And I'm like, but of course now they all think differently of that. So there was that. There was the monetary pressure. because, like I said, hosting the site was not cheap at the time. And am I dedicating people to doing this? I mean, we're I put our office phone number out there, so people were calling our office. I remember this is a funny story. I'm trying to figure out how to monetize this thing, right? And I'm like, and people were asking, well, will you do national days? Well, that's an interesting idea. Maybe we could make money declaring new national days. This is my light bulb moment,
Okay,
right?
thank God.
So I was pretty involved with Pride of Dakota at the time.
Okay.
And so I get a hold of Pride of Dakota, and everybody is already kind of around me knew that this was going on, And I asked, hey, would you mind? Because I did a lot of things for Pride of Dakota over the years. Would you mind if we sent an email out to all Pride of Dakota members and just offering them a once in a lifetime opportunity to have their own national day? And well, what are you going to charge for it? I don't know. $800. We'll charge $800, right? And I had so many emails come back. Are you insane? You want to charge us $800? And I'm like, am I off base here? I don't know, And now I look back at that and I'm like, you have no idea what you passed up. Literally anybody could have had a national day for $800 then.
Steal.
And I mean, you think about it. I mean, even a low performing national day probably has a reach of 50 million people, which means that every single year, your company would be mentioned in all of these different things or whatever, And I laugh about this now, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't know. I didn't know either, what it would be worth or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it was just an interesting ride. There's no doubt about it. I was also very involved in autonomous vehicles at the time. And I don't know if I ever shared. Did I share this story about Fox News? Okay.
I don't think so.
This was a turning point. I have two things that happened to me in this week. This is almost 3 years into National Day, and we're not a company yet. It's still a passion project, right?
Okay.
And so I was at a conference, and I'm hosting a panel on transportation and technology at this transportation conference.
Yeah.
And during this, I bring up that that Highway 83 should be an autonomous friendly corridor. And you may have heard about the autonomous friendly corridor thing. It was huge news about how we would test self-driving vehicles from Canada all the way down into Mexico.
Yeah.
And of course, North Dakota would lead that charge because it runs Highway 83 runs right through the middle of North Dakota, right?
Yeah.
So I bring that up. There's a reporter in the audience. She writes a story, gets picked up by the AP, and all of a sudden it's national news everywhere. And I'm getting all of these calls from all of these reporters from around the world. And Fox News calls me, and they're like, "Hey, would you mind doing an interview?" And I'm like, "Sure." And at the time, Skype was the big deal.
Yeah.
So I hop on the Skype, and I'm and the reporter, she asked me, I wish I remember her name now, and she asked me, so how'd you come up with this idea? And I just start laying out how the country was founded east to west, which means that our roads basically run east to west, and our rail is predominantly east to west. And when you get to North Dakota, South Dakota, the middle of our country, it is really difficult for us to move things north and south. This was my thing about self-driving vehicles is that it would help with logistics. We could put stuff on trucks and whatever else, and they would be self-driving and help us move things out of our region more than what we have, even right now. I mean, although I think the pressure is going to, as soon as self-driving trucks become more prevalent right now, we're going to see a lot of pressure off of our rails and things like that, right? So anyway, I pine on like this for like 2 minutes, and again, I am live on national television, and she goes, "So what does this have to do with National Puppy Day?"
You're like,
and I'm just like, "What?" So I literally pulled the one pretend hat off, put the other pretend hat on, and then started talking about Puppy Day. And after I came out of that, and like I said, we had gotten an email earlier that week from a parent of an adult. One of her children has Down syndrome and goes to this special school, and they use national days in the school as a teaching mechanism every day. And so I have that letter. I still carry it with me today, actually.
Yeah.
And I had those two things happen in that week.
Wow.
And so I just got the team together, and I said, we're going broke doing this. I
Yeah.
said, we're not going to survive much longer if we continue doing this. So we either have to turn this off, National Day has to go away, or National Day calendar has to become some type of business where we can figure out a way to monetize this so we can pay all of you,
Yeah.
we can survive. And everybody thought, well, we already have millions of followers. It would be a shame to let this go bye-bye. So that's the long version
Yeah.
of how we got to the start of National Day calendar.
So then, when you think about the popcorn, day, maybe that was the early motivation, I guess. Maybe talk me through, like, again, I mean, the money is one thing, the time is another, the stress in building a team around something that generates $0,
Yep.
right? I mean, tell me about the early motivation for this thing.
Yeah, it probably, I mean, there's no doubt that popcorn drove a lot of this. And I think it goes kind of back to that curiosity thing that I have, right? I was really curious what I could dig up.
Yeah.
When I discovered that there were other national days that had been forgotten, that was like this huge moment for me. Like, I wonder how many of these have been forgotten. And then you start digging it up and you're like, oh my goodness, whatever. My favorite one is bittersweet chocolate covered almond day.
Okay.
Shouldn't even be on the calendar, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lobby back in 1838. I mean, the technology, a lot of these things were driven by the technology of the time, right? They were able to make this type of chocolate covering stick to almonds, and so they lobbied Congress, and the president declares bittersweet chocolate covered almond day, and then it just gets forgotten until this crazy guy in North Dakota uncovers it, 180 years later. So but to me that was kind of the driving thing. I just loved finding those tidbits of information. These are, a lot of this stuff is just almost core to our history, actually, of our country. So that's really what drove it more than anything else.
Yeah. And when you think about all that drive and curiosity and resources, I mean, I'm guessing you hadn't done something like this before. So how much trial and error was going on in these early days?
Ton of it. So I mean, I had built websites before, so that wasn't new to me. But the type of research, and then the writing part of it, I had never, the last time I really had, taken time to write anything was probably in high school. And I remember kind of enjoying it a little bit in high school.
Essays and whatever.
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
Yep.
Yep. But this ability to actually write these articles around these national days kind of thrilled me a little bit too. I got kind of a sense of satisfaction from that too, I guess. So that expanded. And I think, as I look back on that now to where I am today, that kind of I don't know if that gave me permission to try to be creative in other things, but now I record some music, and I'm building stuff in 3D printers, and I do some art type of stuff with lasers and things like that. I don't know if I would have had the, I guess permission, is the right word to, to give to myself to try those type of things. But because I've had success in writing now, even though it's mostly a blog style type of thing, but obviously it turned into something. I explore that a little bit more now.
The audacity to just try something crazy, right? That most people, I'm guessing, at the time. Tell me about that. I mean, you talked about, making plans with friends or family. I mean, what were people's perspectives of this in those early years?
I just think that they just thought I was this, what the heck is he doing now type of scenario. I think they were kind of used to that a little bit already, because I had some other businesses that maybe were a little fringe and had done okay. Zuvio was one of those. I had developed this process to transcode videotape early on, and worked with Roku actually in the early days of that. And and before that, I had developed some like inkjet transfer papers, sublimation. I worked with a company called Condi to build out sublimation products, and people you see that in when you print cups and things like that.
Yeah.
I actually was instrumental in those processes. Inkjet transfer paper that you print like your picture on a piece of paper and iron it onto a shirt.
Yeah.
I helped develop that
Wow.
back in the day. So
Okay.
I had developed some maybe fringe
quite
type
a
of
few
things.
things.
So I don't think they thought. I suppose the fact that it wasn't a product type of thing, that it was like this
physical,
digital.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Maybe they thought that was a little crazy. And again, the amount of time that this took. The other things I developed were I was doing during the day, and I wasn't taken away from family and friends, nights and
Right.
weekends. This was a passion project that I had
past
that
9 to
literally,
5,
yes,
right?
exactly. So they were being impacted. Why aren't you going out fishing with us or going golfing or any of these other
Yeah.
things? You're giving up bagels for this. I mean,
Yeah,
I
right.
truly believe that's what they were thinking. But,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
So,
That's funny.
and there are a lot of people that really thought that this was just this crazy pursuit, and then of course when it started to get popular, that changed a lot of people's opinions about
bet.
this crazy project. Yeah, yep.
Absolutely. So again, when you think about National Day calendar, right? National Calendar Day, it's probably not possible now to say to somebody that hasn't heard of it. But maybe if you go back in time, when you were trying to explain this to people, what did you explain it as? Maybe what would you explain it as today if that's changed?
So and just I don't mean to correct you,
Yeah.
but it is the only reason I'm correcting you is
Yeah.
because National Calendar Day. If you go to the .com side of that, somebody bought that, and it's a nefarious website.
National Day calendar.
Yeah, so it's National
Yeah,
Day Calendar.
yeah,
I've tried to shut those other guys down, but I'd like to get that domain one of these days because I
To
just want to because it infects your computer with a virus. So you got to be careful with that. Like a lot of other websites, like
Yeah.
if you misspell PayPal, for example, a lot of those are virus
Got
infecting
it.
websites too. So,
Got it.
but yeah, no, I got off. What was the question? again? I'm
National.
sorry.
So when I was like, people know of
Yes,
it, right?
yes.
And maybe they don't know everything they should, but National Day calendar, what's the elevator pitch of what this is, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody knows that there's a lot of people do know, but that there's actually a company or a purpose behind the National Days. It's probably, but they do know what we do, right? So if they ask me what it is, I'll just say, are you familiar with National Pizza Day or National Coffee Day? And most people go, oh, yeah. Well, we're the people behind making those days, as they are today. And then they're like, oh. And then they're like this light bulb thing, like, oh, you mean there's like people behind those days? I'm like, yeah, we're the ones that put them out there, and yeah. So I think, but somebody had described me one time that you're as innocuous as the sidewalks. People just they just exist, right? I mean, somebody still had to build the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But yet you don't even think about that because
No.
you're just out walking on it, and we're kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I have so many stories that I could share with you about just being in places and people just discovering that it's a national day, or what I was in New York one time, and I had a meeting with the PR agency upstairs in one of their high rises, and I'm down in the coffee shop down below.
Yeah.
And I always get this look, by the way. I mean, we have 15 million people that get our email every day, so 15 million people get to see my picture every day. And this gal was looking at me from across the way, and finally she came up and she's like, "You're the calendar guy, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the calendar guy." and she works for a PR agency. It happened to be in the coffee shop and working on a National Day project for a client. And she just thought it was just unbelievable that I'm sitting in this room,
You're
And
the
as
guy.
we're talking, here goes a bus by us talking about National Pizza Day is next Thursday, and I forget what she was working on that was next Tuesday, and she's like, "You guys are literally everywhere," and it's true. I guess you just don't even think about it, but it is everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think of that in the explanation, I mean, early on, was it pretty much kind of the same thing in the way you try
Pretty
to help
much the
just
same
relate
thing.
back a single
Yeah.
day to connect it?
And I think, early on I had to explain it a little bit further because not everybody knew,
Sure.
but most people knew about Coffee Day at the time because that was one of those 20 or 30 that were being
The
celebrated.
originals,
Yep, yep. But yeah, and then just this concentrated effort of it becoming bigger. But it really blew up pretty fast. I mean, by 2015, 2016,
Few years.
yeah,
talking.
it was like, you turned the radio on in the morning, it was there. You turned the television on, it was there. I mean,
Yeah.
it blew up that fast. Yep.
I mean, how did if you can encapsulate all those things? I mean, how did that feel?
It was a little surreal, I think. And you travel. I remember waking up one morning early on, and turning on the local news, and then they're talking about a national day,
Yeah.
that we had actually put out there,
Right.
and it was this surreal thing. We did an experiment. This is probably 6 or 7, 8 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
And a good buddy of mine has an app company in Las Vegas.
Okay, Vegas.
And it was Sunday at about 2:00, and I was looking at the calendar for tomorrow, and it was a pretty, what I would consider a weekday,
Sure.
So I'm like, I always had this idea to do National App Day.
Okay.
So I work on it, I write the article, I get it posted, but I needed to have like somebody that wasn't just me doing this. So I call CJ's his name, and I call CJ. It's like 9:30 at night, and I'm like, I just need to get together with you. I want to surprise him with this because I did the proclamation.
Oh, fun,
Actually,
yeah.
had it printed out at a print shop in Vegas on
nice.
Sunday, and
Yeah.
I wanted to get a picture with him of this before I sent it out to
Oh,
everybody.
got it. Yeah.
And anyway, so I finally talked him into meeting up with me. In fact, I called a mutual friend to talk him into it. So we all got together and took a picture like at 10:30 at night.
That's cool.
And then sent it out. And then I woke up in the morning and turned on the television on the Today Show, and they were talking about it being National App Day. This didn't even exist 8 hours before. So
that.
just like that. So it goes to prove, I guess, that was like, I had never experimented that way before, but just immediately it was a national day because we said it
Right.
was. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Not, I don't know how to phrase it, but I mean, did you just trying to get some average person's thoughts right? And maybe I'm not any different, but did you feel like famous during this time, or what?
No, I mean, I think this quasi-celebrity thing that has happened to me over the last couple of years has only been just a recent phenomena.
Sure.
I think as the company became more prominent, because it kind of went from the days were becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the media started to go, where are these coming from? So then all of a sudden the
They got
company
curious.
and the founder started to become interviewed, more and more all the time. And then, of course, we had, like CBS Sunday Morning show up at our door when, and I mean, they didn't just show up; they let us know they were coming. But there's that. We've been part of, significant marketing campaigns with companies. So it's become, a little bit, and then of course now, I host a television piece, and our radio show is being syndicated now. So that's going to be probably 300 to 400 stations across the country this year. So it's it's kind of a recent thing, and I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I like to sit down and I like to go to coffee shops. I mean, I like to work in
It's one
coffee
of your
shops.
things, yeah.
But it's challenging because because I have an unusual name as well. Not everybody's Marlo,
is
right?
unusual in a good way.
And they might hear me on the radio, or they might, but so when I go out for coffee, I had an instance in, I forget where I was at, and they called my name for coffee, and then they look over and they see me, and the next thing you know, I got 20 people around me because they realize that I'm the calendar
You're the
guy.
calendar
right?
guy. Yeah.
So I mean, those things have And I don't know if I shared with you the dessert story, but that's that was an amazing thing too in Bentonville, where we ran the restaurant out of
What a
dessert
movement, right?
because
Yeah.
people wanted to take photos with me with their desserts because it was dessert
I mean,
day.
yeah, how cool is that?
Yeah,
You
and
got
then
the
we go to
guy
order
there,
dessert and they
you
have
don't
none
get any.
left.
Yeah.
To run a restaurant out of dessert, I can't imagine what that had to feel like for the restaurant to
Like, I love
actually be
this.
out of dessert.
Yeah, but also not loving this because the guy is
Yeah,
here and we
yeah.
don't have dessert for him.
Yeah, but
Go
it was
run to some
was cool.
store or something to solve this problem. I mean, going off that dessert story, from your perspective, Marlo, I mean, why do you think human beings are so drawn to celebrating these small things, right, that make up national
Yeah.
days, right?
I think actually put a lot of thought into this because it is something that I didn't understand right away myself. I thought that national days were very trivial,
Sure.
and I thought I liked them, but I think I liked it because I had that curiosity and I love history.
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of a personal passion project. The rest of it, I just didn't really get. I got the news thing as a filler, right? So it's a slow news day, not unlike what we have anymore. But I don't know if there is such a thing as a slow news day anymore.
Gosh, yeah.
But at the time, if they needed to fill something for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever,
Toss it
if it's
in.
donut day, this is just a nice feel-good story, right?
Right.
And you have the backstory to it. So here you go. So I didn't really get it right away, but now when we're not really I don't think people are as social as they used to be.
Sure.
And I think they crave it. I look at the rise of coffee shops, and and since I spend a lot of time in them, I mean, as a business model, coffee shops don't really make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
I mean, how many cups of coffee do you have to pour at $5 a piece before you even can scale this? I mean, it seems like to get to $1,000, it's 200 cups of coffee you got to pour.
kinda
That's a lot of
wild.
coffee when you
Yeah.
think about it. And most of these coffee shops are small or whatever, but they seem to be doing okay. And it's because it's a place of gathering. It's a place of community. I think national days are the same way. I think it's kind of a reason for people to get together. It's National Pizza Day, so I call you and say, hey,
Hey.
it's pizza day.
We got to go get a slice.
Yep. And it goes right to the core of the dessert day. I know we didn't talk about the whole
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but I was in Bentonville and for another reason, but the mayor of the town was introducing me to people.
Yeah.
And there's this group of 4 ladies that was sitting next to us, and they had sat down, and when the one lady, she realized who I was, she was just like floored because she literally had called her friends and said, it's dessert day, let's go to this restaurant and grab some dessert tonight. And then I'm sitting next to them. So that's what the story is. But
Yeah.
that goes to the core of what I'm talking about here, because she called them
to
to
get
get together for dessert. Yep.
Wow.
And it's true with coffee, it's true with siblings day, it's true with all of it. Yep.
So then when you think about these national days, and you did mention it very early on in the podcast round, like government recognized holidays, how do those differ, right?
Well, is there 14 of them now, I think, federal holidays?
I believe so, something like that.
Yep, and those obviously have to be proclaimed by Congress, okayed by Congress, and we get the days off or whatever
Yeah.
for that. But like Mother's Day and Father's Day, they're not federal holidays. Isn't that interesting? But yeah,
Yeah.
we all celebrate them.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
It's as tradition as a big national federal holiday is.
Guess where they came from?
Hallmark.
Ding, ding. Very good. So Hallmark tried to do that with a lot of other days too,
Got
and weren't
it.
as successful. They thought, Grandparents Day or
Profitable
whatever.
is-
That's exactly
is the-
right.
is the drive,
You know,
sure.
and it came, when we came along, Grandparents Day became a thing, and there's, National Sons Day, National Daughters Day. Those are all significant things now. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how things get melded into our culture.
Yeah.
I think we're just kind of an extension of that.
Yeah.
The president does actually declare a few national days as well. There's
Wow.
probably 6 or 8. Nothing current, though.
Okay.
So And this is why so many of them were forgotten in the past. So they would declare a national day when the president declares a national day. It has to actually be signed by the president the next year.
Interesting.
Yes. So any of the national days that you see that move on forward, if for example, Biden or Obama or Bush were to have done something in the past,
Yeah.
Trump now would actually still have to sign off on those days for them to move forward. So I think, as we know with politics, my guess is that a lot of that happened over the course of our country, and one of the presidents say, I didn't like that last president, so I'm not going to sign this thing, and then it would just be gone, right? And that is it's really interesting when you think about that. And then again, like I said, now we celebrate all of them because of that.
Yeah. Fun fact question, and then we'll move on to the next piece here. But I mean, what would you define as your most successful day so far?
Most successful day. Well, my favorite is that we've declared is Astronaut Day. That is May 5th. But I would have to say Bobblehead Day.
Bobblehead Day.
Yes. So this is early on in National Days. We started to accept applications for new national days, and I won't get into that whole story. It's a long story too. And by the way, we get 30,000 applications for new national days.
I was going to ask that next question. Yep.
And there's a committee of 4. They go through those. If it's unanimous, then it becomes a new national day. So it's a tough litmus test to get a national day. But Bobblehead Day was early on, and the gentleman that got a hold of us, he was thinking about starting the National Bobblehead Museum in Milwaukee.
Wow.
And he was hoping that we would declare a National Bobblehead Day to get that
ramp it up.
Yeah, that's 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
There is now a National Bobblehead Museum.
Wow.
Yep, in Milwaukee.
In Milwaukee.
And the gentleman, I wish I could remember his name right off the top of my head. He was actually featured in a State Farm commercial about Bobblehead Day at one time. Yeah. It's really interesting. And Bobblehead Day is it's not as big as Girlfriend's Day.
Sure.
But it is in the top 5 of our top trending days, because all these major league teams, and football and whatever, but the Twins, for example, will post their 1987 World Series team in bobbleheads.
Yes.
And post it out on social media for the day. So Bobblehead Day will trend number 1, for 40 hours.
Right.
It's almost 2 days long.
Day,
because all these football teams and baseball teams or whatever will post maybe their new season bobbleheads they'll show off or whatever. Right. So it's become a very big deal. So, I think that's Giving Hearts Day is another one. We declared National Giving Hearts Day to coordinate with Giving Hearts Day here out of Fargo. And I think that's been pretty significant for them as well.
Absolutely.
Giving them national coverage as opposed to just regional coverage.
Yeah. So when you think about, all this pop culture, modern relativity and relevance and its cadence to obviously create movements and mini movements and large ones, at what point in time do you realize that this just wasn't a website, but something that people really rely on, especially with news and other outlets and resources?
Yeah, I mean, we get called a platform quite a bit. I don't know if I would go quite that far, but
sure.
Our slogan is celebrate every day. We try to live that the best we can, and I think we have a lot of people across this country that especially in our divisive times or whatever. That try to live that too. So yeah, it isn't just it's not just a website anymore. It's a lifestyle, a way of living, a way of looking at being on the positive side instead of the negative side on things. Even in politics, I think about I don't care what side of the aisle you are and what side of the aisle I am on. might both like coffee,
There you go.
right?
Right.
Am I, so it doesn't matter our differences a lot of times. What matters is that maybe we both like the same thing in some areas as well. We both like pepperoni pizza. We both like donuts. I'm picking on food and drink here.
Yeah, no,
but you know what I mean,
relatable.
right? So there's something of commonality that you
Yeah.
can start with, and then maybe you don't have to be
knows?
so angry with each other after that because you both know you
Yeah.
like coffee.
Just something positive in the
Yeah.
world. I mean, I'm very into like bourbon and whiskeys, and I have this group that I'm a part of, and one of them is a 22-year-old kid that works at Menards. One is a radiologist at Essentia. One works at a railroad down in Wapaton. Another one is a scientist at Aldevron. You know what I mean? And they're all different ages, and some
Yep.
are married, some are engaged, some of them have kids, and it's just like, I mean, for me, especially being a business owner, I just get to be Jay in that moment. I'm not business owner Jay. I'm not video director. I'm not whatever. We're just people coming together without politics and bias, and it's just focused around this one thing. And I think that is a huge release at the end of the day for me, mentally, physically, to be able to just hang out and relax. But at the end of the day, yeah, just to relate back to one thing that we have in common, which I think is what I think is a human desire or need
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So
I love that story. It's fantastic. That's literally the core of National Day Calendar right there.
yeah. You called it a platform. I'll call it a platform. Maybe it's a website to you. Maybe it's not. But what were some of the most surprising things as the website or platform started to really scale and take off that maybe you hadn't expected, even being as curious as you are?
I like I said before, I just thought it was very trivial, and I had a hard time with people taking it so seriously. So that would be one of the first things, I guess. And then that popularity of it, and so I guess that not understanding
Sure.
what was going on. One of the other surprising things is I never would have dreamed in a million years that I would actually run out of capacity for storage on a website or bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, well, we'll never have 5 million people come to this website in
Right.
a month, So this package we bought here
That's
for
fine.
$3,000 a month will be just fine, right? And 2 weeks later, our site is down because we can't. They
Yeah.
can't handle it, so we have to up it again. I mean,
Wow.
we just ran out of capacity all the time. It was just so frustrating, and even I remember the morning when it aired on CBS Sunday Morning, and we actually, so we're on AWS now, which is an Amazon product, and it's elastic, which means that if we get hit by 100,000 people at one time, it just spins up more servers and does its thing. Still took us down, and we're just like, what do we have to do?
All right.
We can't go any further than this.
Yeah.
But yet we still have
Growing.
problems with that occasionally. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing. It just depends on who's covering things and whatever. So I guess that popularity has been interesting to me too.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you think about problems or opportunities, I know you and I talked about this on the phone before, but at what point in time did you really realize that you had to be a steward of protecting this thing? Because I'm guessing at some point in time when it gets really popular, what do they say? Copying or mimicking is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, I think it's
right.
imitation, isn't
Imitation,
it?
yeah,
I was
something
trying to
like
grasp
that.
the other day too. Imitation is the best form of flattery.
Yeah, but at what
Yeah.
point in time did you need to say I need to protect this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care right away because I just, didn't matter to me how you found out that it was bobblehead day.
Yeah, you were cool with how
Yeah,
it was.
Yep. And I'd say most of the world found out through, maybe a proxy of ours, like, you're watching a television station, listening to a radio station that got their information from us.
Yeah,
right?
and then
So-
they're promoting it or pushing
Right,
it out.
right. So didn't have a problem with that too much. We started to get a lot of copycat websites that started to pop up and go away, and we've had some that have been real thorns in our side that actually pretend that they're us.
Sure.
To the point where even their About Us page had my picture on it and all this other stuff. So we've had a lot of issues with that.
Yeah.
And of course, and again, I really wasn't so concerned about that. It does hurt us though, because traffic to our site is one of the ways that we derive income, which helps pay for the things that we do, right?
Yeah, everyone benefits
So there's that. We did have and still do have significant issues with people copying our actual printed calendar.
Okay.
So I think what the story I shared with you is the Menards one, where somebody called me and said, "Hey, you're in Menards," and I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't know a lot of times what our distributors are doing, right? So maybe they got to deal with Menards.
Like, cool. Like, that's
that's
awesome.
exactly right.
Like, that's awesome.
That's right. And then the next one was that I didn't know you sold the calendars for $5.99, and I'm like, we're selling them for $5.99. They cost us more than $5.99.
Well, that's news to me.
How's this working? So and then visit a little bit more, and you find out it's just this really, really terrible
cheap copy.
Yeah, cheap copy on terrible paper, and I mean the reason our calendar costs a lot more is because it's a quality paper, quality whatever.
Right.
And that's a cool story. I have to get back to that about how we got to the printed calendar.
Yeah.
So anyway, but they had our name on it, right? So then we started getting other calls, and people didn't realize that is not us putting out this inferior product. But they blamed us for it. So even when they found out that it wasn't us doing it, they were like, well, your name's on it. You should be protecting yourself. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I guess we need to protect ourselves. So, it's one of those scenarios where, like Disney, is probably my best example. People get upset, especially people in silk screening shops and whatever. If you were to print a single shirt with Mickey on it, for example, why does Disney even care? Well, they really don't.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what they care about is that when they get that phone call saying, hey, I mean, this Mickey that I bought, that's the Disney shirt, the Mickey is falling off of it. And then you start finding out that it's not your shirt, but yet the customer is still blaming you for it. So, yeah. The calendar story.
Yeah.
This is a great story.
Yeah.
And it goes to the core of you as a business person listening to the people who you do business with you. So start the calendar, and we started getting requests for printed calendars. And I'm like, I'm a computer geek. And I just don't understand. It's free online.
It's already right there. What else do you want? Right.
You can sign up for our free newsletter.
Yeah.
You get reminded every night. If you need to go further than that, you can hop on our website. You can look at January 2028 if you want to.
Right here in your
Don't
hands.
need it there.
Yeah,
This is crazy, right? When you print in a calendar. Jay, what do you want a calendar for?
Yeah.
It's free. When you print in a calendar. And one morning I got like 3 or 4 of these emails, and I actually got frustrated.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for me to get frustrated. I got a little frustrated. I grabbed a 13 by 19 piece of paper. I taped, like scotch taped, a cold picture of winter on the top. I scotch taped. I want to make sure that they could see the scotch tape on the bottom of January of whatever year it was, 2017 or 2018 or whatever it was. And then I grabbed Nick and Alice. I said, hold this up in the middle of you two. I took a picture. I put that picture on Indiegogo, which is a crowdfunding platform.
Yeah.
And I wrote like 3 paragraphs about this is what the calendar could look like. Like they wouldn't know what a calendar would look like, right?
Sure.
And it would have the national days on there, right?
Yeah.
I put it at $20 because I would never pay $20 for a calendar.
You're like, this is way too high. This
way
is
too
comical.
high. Yeah. Yep. 3 days later, I came to my office and I said, I guess we're in the calendar printing business now because we sold 2,000 calendars at $20 a piece. And now we sell 1 million calendars.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
this is just a great, you should listen to the people who you're doing business with. They're already following you. All they were saying is that we want more. They really were saying that. Yes, we can get it online or whatever, but how cool would it be to have it next to
thing.
Yeah, we want it in our homes or we want it in our businesses, in our classrooms. It's amazing how many classrooms use National
cool.
Day calendar across the country. So
Yeah.
as teachable moments. So it's just, you just have to listen. And I have a hard time with that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're all given a set of skills.
Yes.
Right. And, not that we're trying to make this an overtly, business marketing podcast, but yeah, I mean, the most amount of success that I have seen is when I just shut up and I just listen, and they may not always tell me as black and white as print me a calendar, but they'll say no, or they'll respond in a certain way, and it's just we've had to, like any business, again, lead and guide from the front, but listen to their clients, because you
Yep.
can never, in our world with video marketing, the curator of the content will never dictate what is good and bad. It
Yep.
will always be the viewer.
And it can go to everything in your life too. I mean, I was gonna say, if you have 3 people tell you that your fly is down, you should probably check and see if your fly is down, right?
Yeah, maybe,
I'm just,
right,
or,
yeah.
or I need to
Yeah.
get a haircut, and I've been reminded about
You're like, I
18
think it's
times in the
good.
last 3 days.
It's
that
like, well, you might
I
think
need to
it's
get
good,
it.
but
Yeah.
the majority vote is not.
That's
that.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So I've been leaning towards maybe I should go get my haircut because it's not real good right now.
Right. Unless you're trying to set some kind of fashion trend in the future today or something like that. Before we move on, when you think about that brand, obviously the calendar is a piece of your brand, and it's a physical product. But when you go back to the analogy to Disney, at what point in time did you really think about, again, needing to protect this brand is and it's an extension of maybe yourself. It's an extension of what, and why the reason these days exist for people to get together and to become friends or to share moments. Maybe talk to me about when that really clicked around, like that brand preservation, how important that was to you guys.
Yeah, I think probably 2020. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a graphic artist, and we were discussing this, and we had a logo. I wasn't real happy with the logo.
Sure.
And we had kind of decided that maybe National Day Calendar should have its own font, and that font would actually be built into the logo itself.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we set out to do. We've actually had people or companies call us to request using our font. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
I thought so too, and I think
huh.
was it the Red Cross that called us one time, wondering if they
Interesting.
could? Yeah. And I mean, if we can share it with you, because we can just send the file to
Yeah.
you. But so that was kind of, we spent a lot of time working on our logo at that time, because we figured that would be a really, really great way to protect ourselves, because now we have the font, we have our own,
got all the things
all
that
of
make
it.
up.
Yep. So that's probably when it became really prevalent to us, and then we really started, and then of course we trademarked, which then became registered marks for both National Day Calendar and Celebrate Every Day. We figured that it was important for us to do that with our slogan as well. And we don't aggressively protect our brand, but we do have we subscribe to a service, and the service is expensive.
Sure.
And they are our brand cops, so to speak. So they look for instances that there's infringement of the use of our logos, of the use of our names or whatever. And then and a lot of times, what I love about it is that we don't treat it as infringement right away, because I don't think a lot of people understand it.
Sure.
So if they start for example, a Facebook page with our name, for example, we'll reach out to them and we'll say, hey, we love that you love us.
Yeah.
How do we work together?
Got it.
Yeah. We're not going to come after you too hard about it, but if you're doing stuff like pretending that you're really us,
making money off of it.
yeah,
in
and
that
making
incredulous way on top
exactly
of it.
right. Yep. Then we're
it's
going
not
to
just
probably
flattery.
get a little more aggressive with you. We've been
as you should.
successful in shutting down some websites and things like that. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this one might be the most pop culture relevant one here, and you had already mentioned it, but again, how many submissions do you guys get in
So we
a
get
year?
about 30,000 a year.
Okay. And are those like emails? Are those mailed? What is the process to sending in a submission?
So if you go to our website, if you go to the upper right-hand side, it says register or submit a new day, and then you just open that up, and then there's a form right there that you fill out.
Yeah.
And that really is the process. The more information you can give the committee, the better chance you have, though. I mean, don't go crazy.
Yeah.
But you have to have some type of significance as to why this day should fall on this particular, why we should be celebrating this day and that type of thing. But it's a tough thing, just so you know. I mean, we are very cognitive that there are 365 days in the year. We already have 1,700 national days on that list.
Right.
So we feel that there's room for some more. We haven't come up with a way to remove some of the days that I originally put on there. There's probably, I'm guessing, at least a few dozen that I think we'd like to have disappear.
Yeah.
But we haven't quite figured out a way to retire, because even if we retire it, it shows up digitally someplace.
Right. The footprint still exists.
Exactly.
In so many places.
So it's a challenge, but
You'll figure.
we might figure something out there. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, it might be a hand of that at some point.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, like retiring numbers for basketball or baseball
and then you
teams,
move
right?
on, and it's a celebration, and then
Yeah.
one last day of it for a year or something.
Exactly.
So I mean, I'm curious, and I think viewership, right? What do you guys define, or what is the grading scale, or give me the look behind what days get passed and what don't for you guys?
Yeah, it's probably, if it's culturally relevant, those probably get through pretty quick. I think of like Outfit of the Day by Stassi. She was on the Vanderpump Rules. I know she hates this, but I'm going to talk about her anyway. So because it's culturally relevant, that gets through. If it's Banana Day and it wasn't there before, everybody eats bananas.
Makes
you can get around that, that type of thing. So I think, and it's something that, I think they look at. When I say they, I'm not on the committee, just so you understand. I actually removed myself a lot of years ago.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to wield influence over them. They should have that power.
Checks
to do
and
that.
balances, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I think they look at what, a great example is goat yoga. Okay.
Yeah.
So
very popular very fast.
Yes, it did. It just blew up like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago or whatever it was. And we had so many requests. I mean, hundreds of requests for goat yoga. And I remember a couple people on the committee coming to me and they're like, "What is your opinion of this?" And I'm like, "Come on, you guys. It's a fad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not going to be around 4 or 5 years from now, or at least not at the level it is now."
Right.
And I mean, how many goat yoga places are there left even right now? I don't know either, but not a lot,
Not as many as they used to be.
Yeah. So I think that's what they really look at, is how relevant it is. We do have an iconic brands thing that we just implemented, though, a couple of years ago.
Tell me about that.
So if you're like Oreo cookie,
sure,
right? Everybody knows who you are.
Absolutely.
Volkswagen bus would be another one, right? So those two, because they're around for 70 years, you have to be around 70 years or longer, and you have to be a brand that everybody knows, then if you submit, then you will automatically get included.
Got it.
So, but those are not as many as a person really thinks.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'm picking on Volkswagen bus, and then they did just this amazing event in Huntington Beach, California, for their kickoff, and I had a blast at this thing, because all these people who had these Volkswagen buses from all over the world showed up and did this impromptu the night before the event, tailgating on the beach there.
That was a cool scene.
It was cool. In fact, so cool that I had to be back at 7, and I look at my watch and I'm like, it's 5:30
a.m.
Yes, as I was out there with all of them. So I had to get back and change clothes and get back to the stage, and the president of Volkswagen is there, and we both walk out on the stage, and we had handlers on both sides of the stage, and they had big teleprompter for us to follow, and we were supposed to shake hands, and they said, and then face the crowd, and we turned around and looked, and as far as we could see, there were people. There's estimates there were 100,000 people that showed up for this thing.
Wow.
It was massive, just to celebrate Volkswagen Bus Day. Wow. So, well, I was just, I mean, it was just, like I said, as far as you could see down the beach, there were people, and they had Woodstock radio there, and I mean, it was such a cool day, and they unveiled their new Volkswagen bus that day as well.
I was going to ask that. I'm guessing that's when the revamp or the refresh was going to come out. Yeah,
it wasn't available for sale yet, but that was the first actual showing of the bus. So they did a great job of marketing all of that and using the National Day to show off what they're thinking about, dreaming about in the future, and all of that. So it was cool.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, you'd probably see it now as low-hanging fruit, but I mean, what a crazy movement. I mean, tens of thousands, 100,000 people for a day.
Yes.
And it wasn't like there was really, I mean, it was just a get-together.
That's all it was.
It wasn't like some kind of big expo or, structured event otherwise, right? It was just a get-together to celebrate this thing that we all have.
I've never seen so many surfers in my life. But I mean, that was the culture at the time, right? People had Volkswagen buses, and they put their surfboards on there, and they went to the beach. I mean,
it's iconic.
It was they were reliving this that day. It was a very cool thing. I was very impressed by that. Yeah.
I think we've seen in marketing that nostalgia might be one of the human's greatest weaknesses of all time when it comes to maybe not weakness, but driver or whatever you want to call it. Of action. So.
Yep.
And when was this get together again?
This would have been June 2nd. Would be 3 years ago on June 2nd. So just 2.5 years ago now. Yep.
Because that's when they had launched the new, modernized.
Yep. I think it's for sale now.
Mm-hmm. I've seen them around town. I've seen a couple of them in Fargo.
Cool.
They are obviously a very taste-oriented purchase for sure.
Yeah, much more roomier too.
Yeah,
a little
more tech in them probably.
I remember when I was visiting. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. I see his name now. The comedian who loves Volkswagen buses. I only took 100 pictures with him that day.
Where were you at visiting or meeting?
In Huntington Beach. It was that day.
Oh, it was that day too.
Oh my goodness. I'll think of his name here in a second.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has a collection of 20 or 25 of them, and he just showed up that day too. And so that didn't hurt anything. I remember.
No, I'm sure it didn't.
Taking so many photos. Oh my goodness. This is terrible. As I'm thinking, I don't want to leave you with dead air here. That's why I keep talking.
Comedian into the buses. How old is
he's
he?
Probably 50-ish now.
Okay. Has he been in movies or any TV shows?
Absolutely. And he tours all over the place. He's been up here too. He's a little larger guy. In fact, that's part of his name.
Is it Brett? No. Bert?
No. That's it. Gabriel Iglesias. What does he go by?
Gabriel Iglesias.
Yes. Yeah, he's got a name that he goes by though.
Like a nickname or a stage name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
I
That's
brought
hilarious.
It's terrible that I can't remember. It's funny. I mean, there was a day in my life that if I like most people, you run into a celebrity or whatever, and you remember it for the rest of your life, right? Yeah. I've had so many of them because of National Day Calendar. Right. I can't even keep track anymore.
So many people
It's just amazing. But Gabriel, so I come walking up afterwards, and I have the proclamation in my hand, right? And he goes, "Is this for me?" And and I forget the name of the president of Volkswagen. He's standing there, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and he goes. So then I hand him the proclamation.
That's funny.
And then Gabriel grabs him, and he goes, neither one of us, nobody wants to take pictures with either one of us, which I knew was a lie because
Yeah.
everybody wanted pictures with Gabriel.
Right.
But he goes, let's go out and get some pictures with everybody, right? So he goes out into the crowd.
Oh, wow.
And I'm come tagging along, and then he said, well, this is really yours. You should take this. So then, of course, everybody wanted to take pictures with the proclamation.
Right.
So
that's the thing.
I cannot, I don't know how many pictures I took
Oh,
that
my
day with
gosh.
people because of that. Yeah, it was
Sure, there wasn't enough
such
time.
Such a blast. It was a good time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you think about, I know you're not a part of the committee now and probably haven't been for a while that approves or
Yep.
disapproves on things. Was there like a unique one that stood out or something that maybe looked good on paper that didn't work out or maybe just a unique story from a submission in the past?
I'm sure there are plenty of them. Actually, outside of I was very purposeful about this. When we started doing this, I did not want to be on this committee. So I've never really sat on the committee.
Yeah.
I know there was a time from the magazine Time. One of the reporters one time was just adamant about being on the committee for a day. So he hounded me
Sure.
for like 2 years.
Wow.
Again, can't remember his name, but
Yeah.
he and I finally, the committee was like, all right, he can be an honorary committee
Sure, to come hang
person
out
for
for a
this day.
bit.
So he hung out with them for a couple hours, just virtually one day.
Oh, sure.
And then he wrote this amazing article about
I'm
how
sure so excited.
yeah, it was just kind of funny, and he kept advocating for a national day that he wanted that wasn't even on the list, right? But he kept bringing it up over and
Right,
over and over again
right.
just to get a reaction out of the committee,
Yeah.
So, that probably is one of the better stories
Yeah.
that happened.
that's
Is that
cool.
article with Time? As far as national days go, there's been a couple that have snuck through, though. When I say snuck through, that I know I would not have voted for.
Yeah, you personally.
That I
Marlo, would've
personally
been
would like. If
no.
I was on the committee, I would have said no.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have said yes to this. So it is interesting, and it's tough for me to go and not say anything about it.
Oh, I bet.
But it's like anything else, it's your baby, it's your company.
Yeah.
You've had to deal with
Part
this
of you,
yourself. You
yeah.
have to give, you can't just do everything, and other people have different opinions on things, and you have to appreciate those as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a few.
Absolutely.
I can't remember which one recently that
you were like,
and I'm like, yeah, I would have never said yes to this one. But it turned
Yeah.
out to be a really popular national day, so I'm usually wrong 98% of the time. So I've just
So-
learned to accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think about, obviously, like you said, this has been something that is a huge part of you, not the only thing that you are and have and, and create. But when you think about the people that do sit on that committee, you don't have to name their names. But, what like personal brand or values or things and questions did you kind of have as a process to weed them out or to select the few that sit on that committee today?
Yeah, are you talking about the people who are on the committee,
Yes.
or the days that they have to weed through?
The people that sit on the committee
Okay.
to make that judgment pass, right?
Yeah, it's it's just people at I won't say at random, I guess, but some of them are in the company, some are not.
Sure.
And those people rotate,
Got
so
it.
it's not like you're always on it. Alice, I guess, would be the one that has been on it the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably and she works, for the company as well. So but we have had people rotate through that, over the years.
Sure.
So there's not really, we're not. I'm not trying to saying that we are taking a cross section of a population or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
It's not that scientific. I think the litmus test is so tough anyway
Okay.
that I don't think we have to do that. I guess that's the point. It has to be unanimous between those four people,
Okay,
and
four
there are hot debates sometimes because you got three
like a
people
jury
saying no,
debate, I'm sure,
or
except-
three
yeah.
people saying yes and one person saying no,
Yeah.
and those three people work real hard to try to convince the other one, and if that person stays steadfast on it, it's not becoming
not
a national day.
Sure.
So it is a tough test, and I don't think we have to have this cross section of the population.
Sure.
That it just so that we can get a majority, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a majority; it's 100% unanimous. So when you send the your form into us, make a case. Don't just say you want national. I'm looking at the sliding glass
Because
door
I like
over
it
here.
and it's cool or something.
Yeah, just because it's cool. You have to tell us why it has to be sliding glass door on this day, because the person who invented that has changed the way we enter and leave buildings forever, right?
Like, okay, fair.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
And then it
point.
still has to get beyond, all the other ones, and it doesn't really make a big difference. I remember telling the story about, James, just the other day, the gentleman who got out of his car one day back in the late '60s,
Okay.
and to fuel up his vehicle, and gets out and it's raining outside, and he is just drenched because he
Sure.
thought the gas cap was on that side of the car.
Oh, sure.
So then, and he worked for Ford.
Okay. Oh.
So then he hops in his car and he's like, "This is ridiculous that you have no idea what side the gas cap is on." So he's the one that invented the little mark on the
Left or right
thing
dash,
of what
yeah,
side.
whatever it is.
Yes, which is almost universal in every car nowadays.
Oh, totally.
Told the story for Inventors Day. I don't know if Gas Cap Marker Day would make it on the calendar, even though it's iconic.
Pretty
and
significant.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
We all are impacted. If you have a car over 15 or 16, it's on the
It's
car
on.
dash.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Is it relevant?
So,
What you guys
but
deem
it fits
as?
in Inventors Day, right? So, I mean, that's kind of
Got
how
it.
you have to think about it.
Subcategories.
Same with the sliding glass door. And we might eventually tell that story in Inventors Day. We get a lot of requests for people as well, especially if they have recently passed away. Like,
Sure.
Hulk Hogan would be a great example of this.
Yeah.
And we were actually working with Hulk Hogan before he passed away
wow.
to bring forward National Wrestling Day.
Wow.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we
what an
wouldn't
icon.
give a national. There would be no National Hulk Hogan
But
Day.
it'd be the greater sum of.
Yes,
the
it would
top
be
of the
Wrestling
funnel piece.
Day, and then maybe we would have that on his birthday. So
So meaningful though.
yeah, Dolly Parton is another one. Every
Yeah.
year on her
Iconic.
birthday, we get a lot of requests to have Dolly Parton Day. So I ended up visiting with her a couple years ago, and instead of doing that, she started the Imagination Library.
Yeah.
So then we actually declared National Imagination Day in Dolly Parton's honor.
Wow.
All right, so
Yeah.
those are the workarounds with those type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got so many questions, but we gotta we're gonna
run out of time. I know.
You might miss your event tomorrow morning if I do ask them. Has running this platform since changed the way that you now think about marks in time and days for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And it's probably a process of getting older as well.
Sure.
I'm sure when I started this, I felt I was still young and bulletproof. I don't feel that way anymore.
Sure.
So I don't think of things as legacies. I never have. I could care less, quite frankly. But I do. I think I'm a kinder person because of it. Not saying that I wasn't before.
Yeah.
But I think I'm more open to people. I think I tend to listen a little bit more. I know not maybe in this interview.
Yeah. Well, that's not the purpose of it, anyways. Yeah.
But I know I have changed a lot. I've watched how National Day calendar has helped people across this country, and and they're I'm going to get a little emotional here probably.
Yeah.
But they are heartfelt stories.
Oh, I bet.
So it's interesting. I mean, people have gotten married, or they use a National Day to propose, for example.
Oh, wow.
And the stories that teachers share with us, because it's just amazing, the teachable moments. One of the coolest things I get to do when I'm in a town is go do school announcements in the morning. The school will ask me to come in or whatever, and I'll read what the lunch menu is and whatever. And today is also National Bobblehead Day. And
Right.
then I'll go
Yeah.
visit some of the students.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
yeah, it's just really cool, So it's just amazing to me how it's just become ingrained everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it has certainly changed too.
Well, the next section we'll get to some of these stories, but is there a day that clicks to you or is closer to home emotionally to you than another day? I know we love Popcorn Day, but
Yeah, I mean, Astronaut Day would be there for me.
Yeah.
That was a very special day when I was able to go and spend time with all these astronauts, and I was at the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs. And it was just amazing to me, when they're asking me for my autograph, these astronauts were, and I'm like, that was a very surreal moment to me because all I wanted to do was get their autographs, right? Why would they want mine?
Right.
You guys have been out of the, and Dr. Leroy Chow, I love this guy. He's an astronaut, but not in the. He's one of the world's most renowned heart specialists. Okay,
Wow.
and he happened to become an astronaut. And it was interesting talking to him because the story that he shared with me about becoming an astronaut isn't that he set out to become an astronaut. It's just that he became very good at what he did.
Sure.
And because he's very good at what he did, they asked him because they
Naturally,
needed to have a doctor on board,
Yep.
right? For whatever reason.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting. He hands me his business card, and I still have this on my desk at work. And of all the things that he's done in the world, it just says Dr. Leroy Chow, astronaut, on it, right?
Yeah.
Not that he's a cardiologist or
Nothing
anything
else.
else.
Nothing
it's
else.
just like that one thing
Is the pinnacle for
is
him.
the most, to him anyway.
Yeah.
It's like it is the superior thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for me that's probably the same thing. I mean, if I were to, I've done a lot of things in my life, and if I were to pick one thing, and I have a problem with this with my business cards because I have 18 of them with all my
what is
different
it?
things,
Yeah,
right?
which one do I
Right.
have this
But
day?
I should have like Marlo Anderson, keeper of the calendar, or something like
Totally,
that.
I like that. Yeah.
And just let it be at that, I don't know how I got to that point. Oh, the national day that
It means
impacted
the
me
most. Yeah.
So yeah, and now I have these friends that are astronauts, right?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm not big into pop culture, although we are probably a significant part of pop culture.
Absolutely.
I could care less if you're a celebrity.
Sure.
And I mean, when I meet celebrities, probably one of the attractions they might have to me is the fact that I don't care. I just literally don't care.
They're just a person.
We're just, that's exactly
Which they
right.
are,
I don't care if you're the president or Lady Gaga or William Shatner or whoever. We just have conversations. And I've met all of those people, by the way, and have had lunch or dinner or whatever with them. So it's just, they're just people, and they just play different roles in the world. And you just treat them, I treat them the same way I treat the person I bought coffee for on the street this morning.
For sure.
I mean, everybody is a person, and I think that's probably the one thing that I've grown to appreciate through National Day Calendar is, and this is that kinder side I'm probably thinking about. I never really thought about these things before, and I think about it a lot now. So
No, absolutely.
I'm getting long-winded on these. I apologize.
No, you're perfectly fine. You would have rather have this than the two-word answer.
Okay.
Right?
I could just go to yes and no if you
Oh
want.
God.
The worst interviews in the world are yes and no
literally.
people. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Noah was behind the camera. We were filming this like truck driver recruitment video for this road construction company.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's incredible to deter for a second, but sometimes you'll get these blue collar guys that are just the most intelligently, emotionally in tune. They know why they're there. They have this greater mission, vision, picture in their mind. And then sometimes you'll get them and they'll be like, they're like, oh, I'm bored now. Are we done with this interview? It's like, there doesn't seem to be a large middle ground in between. It's either incredible, and not saying that a blue collar truck driver wouldn't be a great communicator, but just on paper, right? They're not a public speaker or in marketing or a consultant or coach or whatever. But yeah, no, these answers are far better than that. So again, this will span, right, the last, decade plus of your tenure in this platform. But when was maybe one of the first moments that was shared with you, or story from somebody that had celebrated a day, that made you just kind of stop and think like, wow, this like really has huge impact beyond just these days that are being announced on the news channels or what have you?
Well, for sure, I mentioned the letter I carry with me. I mean, that was a very significant moment in National Day Calendar's history. And we get a lot of these emails and letters that come into us now. I'm drawing a blank to a singular event.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of stories, I guess.
Yeah. Tell me one of those that maybe stands out more than another.
Trying to remember the person who. Well, the Girlfriend's Day one. I mean, I know a gentleman who actually used Girlfriend's Day to actually ask his girlfriend to get married, and
Wow.
I think he was very apprehensive about it.
Okay.
Like he wasn't really sure.
Uh-huh.
I think most people, when they ask their significant other, they're probably 90 to 95% sure.
Right.
I don't think. I remember him calling me one time, and he's like, I don't know if I should do this. And I'm trying to talk him through it. So that was interesting. One thing that's really interesting about National Day Calendar is the amount of suicide calls we get.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I've probably taken a dozen myself. I'm working in the office late in the evening, and I happen to pick. And I have this, and I probably should get back to this a little bit more, but our phone rings so much sometimes that after hours we just don't pick it up. But sometimes if it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night and I'm down there, I'll just pick it up.
Right.
And it's somebody who's thinking about committing suicide.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, they call us. I don't know if it's just because of our slogan or whatever it is, So those have been very poignant type of conversations. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's kind of cool in a weird way that they would call us.
Absolutely. I mean, it's call it an honor, call it respect, call
Yep.
it an
Yep.
outlet to life
Yep.
that should be celebrated, which is
Yep.
your slogan. Obviously, very verbatim, right? Celebrate every single day, right? Celebrate every day. I mean, that.
So I think they just look at that and they look, maybe there's some hope here. I'm hoping that's what they use. I'm hoping that we made an impact. I guess it's always hard to tell because it's not a call that we take, that we ask any information on or whatever. We just basically sit and listen.
Yeah.
And but hopefully it has made an impact to somebody.
Yeah. Wow. I'm having to bounce all over the place.
That's okay.
If you, getting as present as we can, looking back, you have mentioned obviously some huge pop culture names, tens of thousands of people gathering. Have you really thought about now, or as time has gone on, have you thought about like this cultural footprint that you have now left in the world by what you've helped create and continue on and to grow over the years?
No, I don't think about it a whole lot.
Yeah.
I maybe a little bit, but it's probably not for the reason you're thinking.
Sure.
I try to keep our office a little grounded.
Okay.
So in order to do that, I think we really can't think a lot about the impact that we're having across the nation.
Sure.
Or around the world, right?
Yeah.
Because it's our world is in our office, right?
Yep.
And being in Mandan,
Of all places, right?
Right. I mean, but we don't see the buses rolling by that says National Pizza Day on
Right.
it, and we don't see a lot of marketing around all the national days. Like if you were to travel to New York and you see it on the bus benches, on the buses, and on the billboards and everything else. I mean, it is everywhere, and people talking about it or whatever. So I suppose in its own weird way, being in a small town, has probably helped us stay a little more grounded than
Yeah.
what we would be if we were someplace else. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's probably why I just, I know that when I'm out and about and, I'm on a plane flying into Las Vegas, and there's this group of ladies in front of me. I don't know if I told you this story or not. And,
Yeah.
and they're all excited because tomorrow's National Margarita Day, and they can't
Yeah,
believe they're
they're
going to be in
stoked to
Vegas
be
for
in
this.
Vegas,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
and I'm sitting behind them listening to this.
You're
know.
just wow.
Yeah, it's just
Glass
like,
door
and then I open up the reader that's on the airplane, and they're talking about that they're celebrating another national day in here, so stop on by for that. I remember, speaking of Vegas, there was a National Beer Day celebration.
Okay.
This must be 10 years ago now, so it's pretty early on.
Yeah.
And
A few years into it, maybe? at this
Yeah,
point
and
in
we
time?
were invited to this, and because Vice President Biden showed up.
Okay.
That's why I'm thinking in my head how many, but it was, I think he was close to running
Okay.
at the time. So he was in town speaking at the university, and then they brought him down to the Beer Day celebration. So, yeah. So it was kind of funny. He did not partake.
No.
I'm sure, at least not publicly.
Yeah.
But he was wandering around, and they had a real nice crowd, and it was in the Container Park and down by Fremont Street, if you're familiar with
Okay.
Vegas
Yep.
down
I know
there.
that.
So,
I know that street. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I'm just randomly this is just another story that just because it was
Right.
Beer Day and they had
Yeah.
a celebration going on, that the vice
Some
president
figure
just shows
comes,
up.
yeah, comes
Yeah.
and hangs out for a bit.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, we've answered it a multitude of times, but I'll ask it a little more explicitly around why do you think this movement and platform has been picked up by news and people and social media in such a rising way over the years?
Well, I think originally it was for a filler, and now because of its popularity, it has just, I think it's kind of just evolved that it doesn't matter, unless it's really, really significant, like something very significant's going on, that they'll actually not talk about it but they're 100% concentrated on this tragedy that's going on or whatever, in the morning. But generally speaking, we're just part of the news cycle now.
Got it.
And I think it's just because of the popularity of it. They know that if they didn't report on it,
People will be asking
that
about
people
it.
might go to another channel or something and
Yeah.
get it there instead. So I think that's what drives it more than anything else now, because people do want to know that it's National Pizza Day. And if they're used to getting that information from the Today Show or Good Morning America or KFGO in Fargo,
Totally.
that's and if they don't have that information, they'll go seek it someplace else.
Yeah. Absolutely. When you think about, brands and individuals that you've met with for lunch or dinner or coffee, like what do you think, like the side of like responsibility of using those days, in terms of like marketing, commercialization, like what are your thoughts or opinions, I guess, on that kind of world of how it's utilized?
Yeah. When this is actually kind of goes to the core of National Day too, because, like when a company submits for a new National Day and they're approved, okay, of course, we're always working with their PR team.
Yep.
And their PR team, all they send us is their ad.
Sure.
Like, please buy our Jell-O, or please buy. I mean, this is
Whatever
what it
the bid
reads like,
is,
right?
yeah.
And we're like, no. I know that you have an investment in this now, but we'll send that right back to you, because this is how it's supposed to read.
Yeah.
Because people won't celebrate it if they think it's commercial.
Sold stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And would you rather have 2% of the media outlets do interviews with you of 100 million, or get 100% of the response of 2,000 people? Right. I mean, which is what would happen if it was just a blatant commercial. So we have been, if we were to say that we're a steward of anything, it would be that we really, really try to keep all of these as grassroots as we can. So, and we've had significant pressure, like in dollars and everything else, attorneys coming at us saying you need to put it this way, and we're like, no, we don't have to. We don't have to do that.
Right.
I remember working. I mean, I'd love to tell you the brand, but
please don't.
I was their national day was coming out on Monday, and it wasn't like until Sunday, because our post goes out at 8 p.m. It was like Sunday at 7:38 or something like that they finally succumbed to what we were saying, because they knew that we were 22 minutes away from that going out.
You gotta do it or no, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and we actually, we compromised a little bit too.
In the middle, maybe-ish.
That was a mistake.
Sure.
Huge mistake. In fact, the very first comment that I seen on Facebook after that went out was that I see you sold out.
Oof.
Yeah, and we lost 100,000 followers, and I knew we were going to, and I mean, this was the compromised version.
It wasn't even the full bore of
No,
what they wanted, the brand. Yeah, you had maybe
we
pulled
would
back
have
a
we could
portion.
have we could have lost half of our following that day and it's because people know, and I get that. I mean, I wouldn't want to be every day just here you are. Here's another ad, eight ads about whatever the national days are today.
Yeah.
I want to have that choice myself of how to celebrate. If it's pizza day, if I want to go to a pizza joint, whether it's a local one or a national
Whatever
one,
you care about the most,
or make it myself.
Yeah.
It's as national days are as personal, are different for everybody.
Totally.
I usually have a shirt on that says "Celebrate Every Day."
Yeah.
I know I'm wearing Ace Putt today. It's one of my other ventures, but
No worries.
When I wear that shirt, it's amazing. I've never wore a shirt that people just come up to me, total strangers, will come up to me and hug me.
Wow.
And then the next person will go, dude, celebrate every day, because he's going to go out drinking tonight or whatever.
Sure. Like the other thought processing is
and then you have faith-based people that come by and they look at that and they go, yeah, celebrate every day. You don't know, do you?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not guaranteed.
Just means something different to everybody I run into.
Yeah.
And I've just, the reactions I get from that. And I know that attitude has to be taken to how we put them out. So, I mean, if it's Lady Gaga and she's wanting to push, she's a big fan of ours, and
so cool.
she actually uses some of the national days and the things that she does, but that's her choice.
Right.
She's not asking us
Yeah.
to promote what she wants
Taking
to use.
existing
Right.
things
Right.
and-
She
and
can do what
leveraging
she
them in a
wants,
way that are already available.
and so can Shatner, and so whatever. I mean, because the national days mean something different to each of them as well.
Right.
So,
That's the coolness of
That
it.
is the
everyone
coolness
gets
of
to
it.
decide what it means to them
Yeah.
versus being told or being advertised to.
yeah,
right,
exactly. Exactly.
So, looking ahead, Marlo, not just the brand, I guess for yourself, beyond the other adventures you have going on, what about this brand that we've been talking about? Still excites you about it today after obviously more than a decade of it under your belt and tenure it's been built.
Well, I obviously am still passionate about it. Maybe a little more tempered than I used to be.
Sure.
But I have the greatest gig in the world. I'm a lot of my friends are starting to retire now and all this other stuff. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because who would not want the job that I have, that I can wander around and visit with people and drink too much coffee and eat too much pizza and whatever else, So I think that's kind of my role. I'm gonna, I've been stepping down in the company a little bit. We have a CEO now, and I think my role as moving forward is probably more that interaction with people. I've been asked to speak so much, and I've turned down many, because I didn't have a desire to really do a lot of that.
Sure.
Last couple of years I've stepped that up. guess it doesn't help when, MSN named me one of the 10 whatever speakers of 2025.
You're like, oh, okay, well.
So, which didn't help at all.
I'm
I mean,
sure
I'm
it
like,
didn't.
but I'm doing more of that type of thing. So, and I'm finding that a little enjoyable, I guess. And it's probably just more because I get to meet people like you.
Totally.
And
Appreciate that.
I'm all about that. That networking thing. I just
Something about it.
there is something about it, which I think goes right back to the core of why I like to be in coffee shops and things too.
The energy around
Yep.
what it does for you and
Yep.
other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So then looking at, let's say that Marlo isn't in the position he is now with National Day Calendar. What do you think you'd be doing instead? And I'm going to cut you off at some point in time here, but,
Yep.
but what do you think, or where do you think you'd be at now today, and what would you be doing instead?
I mean, I would have to think I'd still be in technology somehow or another.
Sure.
And I know that's weird for me to say that I would still be in, because most people don't think about National Day Calendar as tech, right?
Yeah.
But National Day Calendar doesn't exist unless we have technology. Right? I mean, it's the website and everything else that goes with that.
Yeah.
So I think I would still be in tech. I mean, I don't know what that would have been, I guess. I mean, I've built a lot of websites and I enjoy doing that type of work and things, so I probably still would be doing something like that. I have a feeling, and when National Day Calendar took off, my so-called broadcasting career probably actually started to kind of take off at the same time.
Oh, sure.
I think I would probably be doing more of that as well.
Got it.
I don't have enough time to do that along with
Everything
National Day
else.
Calendar.
Yeah.
So it's more, I do a show called The Tech Ranch, which I put on hold for about 9 months, but it's coming back.
Nice.
I
Exciting.
have another show called The Absurdists.
Service. Okay.
It's exactly as it sounds. We
interested.
pick apart why there are warning labels on all these different things. Like why that you can't use your microwave to dry your cat. I mean, why is this on a warning label?
Like, how
right?
did we get to this point? in
That's
time?
exactly right. So we come up with those reasons
That's
as
funny.
to why and stuff. So that's what
Yeah.
we do.
That's
It's a great show.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably be doing more of that type of thing. Not
Sure.
that I don't do a lot now, because
Yeah.
National Day Calendar, we have television already, and we
Yeah.
do radio, like I mentioned earlier. But I think I'd be doing more of that. I'd probably have a more significant show someplace, I think.
Sure.
But
Yeah. And when you think about National Day Calendar 10 years, 15 years from now, I mean, what and where do you hope it's at?
Yeah, I hope it continues as it is. I hope I'm setting up National Day Calendar in a way that
Yeah.
survives well when I'm not around anymore.
Right.
Putting the right people into the company
seats,
and,
yeah.
and see that vision. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that to this point.
Yeah.
I think, one of the things that's important to me is being fluid in our company.
Fluid.
Technology is changing so fast all the time.
Yeah.
So what do we have to do to continue to be relevant and get the message out? Whether it's because I don't think email is going to be a big deal in the near future. These ways that we generally use in our website. We haven't seen in fact, we haven't seen a reduction at all in the number of visitors. It might have been higher than what we should have, but we're still increasing in visits every year.
Yeah.
But artificial intelligence, obviously, when you can just ask it what day is National Bobblehead Day, and it just gives you the answer, you don't have
Right.
to go and search for it anymore.
And then go onto the website.
Exactly.
And look there.
Exactly.
Totally.
We are going to become more interactive with our following, though.
Yeah.
So we're doing things
That'd
like
be cool to
1 in a Million, which is a contest that we're going to start doing.
Sure.
Where we're giving away cars and things like this,
Okay.
just for guessing a number. But you have to come to our website to do that, right?
do
So
it.
that
Yeah.
continues to make us
The
relevant.
traction platform,
Exactly.
attention engagement
Exactly.
is right.
And I see us doing, for lack of a better way to describe it, but like PR stunts.
Yeah.
And that
Those are
maybe
huge. I mean-
yeah. So, and I think National Day Calendar is really poised to do those fun things.
It already is fun, light, and exciting.
Yeah,
So why not
and-
double down on that?
Exactly. So I think that's kind of where we're going.
Yeah.
Is those type of things. So we're not so reactive anymore. We're becoming proactive.
Yeah.
Because the first 10 years of National Day
Just
Calendar
trying to
was,
stay
oh
afloat
my
or
goodness.
try to get ahead of it the whole
It
time,
was,
right?
That's all we were doing. We were so reactive to everything, and we're finally
Do this, do that.
settling down
Put this
and
out.
exactly when the new
Yeah.
website launches here in
Yeah.
a few weeks or whatever.
Excited to see it.
That really will be the era where National Day Calendar becomes proactive.
Yeah.
With things.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a guy that's really into cars. I mean, I've seen that be a huge, and maybe this is in it, maybe it's not, but like the Sea Boys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know Scott at Red River Motor Works, which is where I take my cars in Moorhead, and he helps kind of like broker the car deals that they do. And I mean, the amount of millions of dollars that they produce off of these giveaways for $100,000 pickup or
Yeah.
$150,000 Lamborghini. I mean, they're doing 35 to 40x on
Right.
what that cost or investment is. And they're getting, obviously, it's ticket sales or tickets to get entered into this giveaway. You got to buy merch to do it. Not saying that's the way you're going to do it, but, it's a very easy thing to do once you have the following built up.
Yep.
You can't just do it with 0 people that
Exactly.
care, right?
Exactly. But those people that you have following help amplify that.
Oh, yeah.
And something, since you're a car guy, this is my invite to you, by the way. So
Yeah.
2027, we're doing a trip on Route 66 for National Road Trip Day.
Sweet. Yeah.
It's a 5-day adventure,
Very fun.
and
Yeah.
you can bring your car
Yeah.
and drive it, or you can hop on a
Yeah,
bus
it's
and
like
ride
a
along.
rally or type of thing. Yeah.
It's all to celebrate National Road
I'm
Trip
in.
Day. So
I'm in.
we're gonna, and that's what I mean about being proactive. We're setting these
Yes.
things up now. People can celebrate with us.
Year
then.
and a half ahead, year
Yep.
ahead, trying to get ahead of it, organize
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Can't always have the Volkswagen bus, 100,000 people in Huntington Beach, maybe with the
But they
the
want to
president.
participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very interested in participating. So
It's crazy the
yeah.
last minute
Yeah.
power in that. So, closing in on maybe this bigger idea, right, of this platform and movement that you've created, we'll get a little relevant here, maybe not political, but especially like today in the day and age of the content that you and I are seeing on our feeds, why do you think celebration matters more now than it has in the past?
Well, I'm not saying that I study history a lot, but I will say that, first of all, this country has gone through things like this before. It isn't that long ago, actually. And we seem to rise above it every time. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I'm just hopeful for that. I think people
Yeah.
can see the good of things.
Right.
And, that just kind of boils down to what, Celebrate Every Day is. And it's not unlike what you and I just talked about a little while ago about commonality of things, right? We're all human beings.
Yep.
We all have our likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
You and I live in a country that at least we can express those likes and dislikes.
Absolutely.
We've never had a platform before where everybody had an opinion. And I think
Right.
we're still in the growing stages of that, right?
I'd agree with that.
So I think I just feel like after a while it is going to settle down a little bit because, and again, when you just had newspapers and you had, for 200 years, we just had, or 180 years, we just had newspapers in this country, right? That literally was the only way people were informed. And who curated that?
Yeah.
Just a couple people.
Right.
Radio came along, upset that a little bit. Television came along, upset that a little bit more. But there's always been just a few people, the puppet masters, you could say, that were curating messages for us.
Yeah.
However the journalists felt, whether they said they felt that way or not, right?
Totally.
I do miss the days of Walter Cronkite. I had no idea what side of the political aisle he was.
Sure.
But everybody loved him, and everybody thought they were getting the news, the straight and narrow on the news, right?
Right.
But now we have a platform, the internet, where everybody has an opinion, and everybody thinks they can convince somebody else to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go the other way, though. I
Sure.
think people are going to get tired of it. I think they're tired of AI interference on social media already.
Yeah.
And that's just people are going to get tired of it, and Pizza Day is going to look even more appealing to them.
Appealing, yeah.
Because they're going to be like, the heck with this social media stuff. Let's just go have pizza with friends tonight.
I can't wait for that day to come.
So
Yeah.
I just think we're getting closer all the time. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of it.
Okay.
Since you're our first guest on the podcast, we don't have. So what I'm going to have you do at the end is I'm going to have you write a question for our next guest that comes on.
Okay.
But that's all I've got. I mean,
Okay.
not all. I mean, it's been 2
It's a
hours and it
lot.
feels like it was 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I know we could have probably talked for another 5 hours. Maybe we'll have to have you come back on sometime and
Okay.
we can dive into some of the other AI pieces that I think
AI would be amazing.
that I think is a very hot topic in
Yeah.
general right now. And I think, Glenn, like you and I had talked about over the phone, some people know how to use it. We all interact with it every day, but I think we're just still it's not quite disseminated to everybody's, likeness or their ability to use it. But again, I think about a lot, our conversation around the middle and people pushing up and down. I mean, I'm a person that I don't care if Starbucks has a person that greets me there. I just care if my coffee and my sandwich that's warming up in the microwave is sitting on the counter.
Right.
But that is an interesting topic that I think could be debated around how much money, and I don't know the specifics, but whenever I walk into a Starbucks, they make it feel like it's a small town coffee shop, especially the one, I don't know if it's everyone, but I know the one that's down the street from us, 3 people generally will go, "Hey, good morning. Hey, good to see you." And you don't really ever actually get that at the small coffee shops at least that I visited around these areas, which is what maybe you would expect a small coffee shop to do versus a big corporate franchise chain, So I think that is an interesting thing in the way that Starbucks has invested in that strategy. Whether it's done perfectly in every location, I can't guarantee or talk about that because I've only been to a handful, but. Yeah, I think the AI implementation thing and what your thought process is and where we might see it next would be super exciting to hear about.
Let's do it.
Sweet. Well, Marlo, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. It's been
I
fun.
think it was really cool to hear the brand, vision, mission, a deeper dive, and I feel like we could have even talked about it more for another 5 hours.
Literally
All
the
other stories
deepest
that you've got.
dive I've ever done on National Day calendars. So
Yeah.
Usually
Very
this
cool.
is the interviews that I've done in the past are usually just 5 or 10 minute type
Sure.
of scenarios.
Very
I guess
quick.
I've done a few hour-long type of things, but
Yeah.
this has been a very deep dive into
Yeah.
the workings of National Day.
Yeah. There could be a million stories that I'm sure that you have
I-
as well
oh, yeah.
too around the people
Yeah.
that you've met. Not that Lady Gaga is more interesting than a barista at a coffee shop in New York City, but people might latch onto it more. But
Yep.
I mean, those are all, again, the hundreds of stories I'm sure that you have and experiences that maybe all relate back to the same quant of they're just human beings like you and I, and they want to be seen and heard just like you and I,
Yep.
and they probably want more normalcy in a conversation than you and I do,
I think they crave it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, Marlo, thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate
It was
Jay.
good to get connected again, and really fun to have you here. And what a great first person to have on for our first episode. So,
Very good.